This is the 2026 Ducati Monster, and today I'm trying to find out if this is a bike that lives up to its name. Is it a scary, hard-to-handle menace that sends shivers through the hearts of men? Or is it just another super naked with a cool name?
They say the rain in Spain falls mainly on the plane, but it's also falling directly into my face, let me tell you. Okay, let me give you the raw specs to start with while I try not to crash. The 2026 Monster is totally new from the ground up, apparently. It's got a lighter chassis for better handling, it's lower, so it's easier to sit on and ride, and it has a different engine to before. The 890cc V2 from the new Panigale and Street Fighter and Multistrada and the Desert X. You get the point.
So you're probably thinking, more power, right? Wrong. This V2 makes 111 horsepower at 9,000 RPM. That's basically the same as the previous Monster. As for torque, that's 91 Newton meters, which is slightly down on before.
The weird thing is that we know this V-twin engine can do more. The same engine in the Panigale V2 makes 120 horsepower, 10 horsepower more, and it makes more torque. I know that one's a sport bike, but come on. I think we could have handled the extra power, Ducati. Not exactly monstrous, this Monster, is it?
So maybe we should take the Monster name with a pinch of salt, because it's a bike whose purpose has meandered somewhat over the years. Over its 6 generations since virtually inventing the sport naked segment, it's a bike that's flitted between appealing to beginner riders with engines as small as 400cc to terrifying advanced riders with superbike performance and virtually everything in between. You never know quite which Monster you're gonna get.
This new one, according to the specs anyway, I guess is somewhere in the middle. That's not necessarily a bad thing. One thing I find interesting, especially with bikes, is that due to modern emissions regulations, it's quite normal these days for new versions of bikes to not deliver more power than the models that they replace. So the bike manufacturers need to find new, different and more nuanced ways of making each generation stand out. And sometimes nuance isn't something a lot of bike fans get excited about.
And speaking of getting excited, don't forget that Autotrader is the perfect place to find a vehicle that'll set your pulse racing. Whether that's new, used, financed or leased, 4 wheels or 2. We even do vans, motorhomes, caravans, trucks, electric bikes and more. Plus, if you need some inspiration, check out our new categories on the app and website. Click I'm looking for and choose the type of car that suits you. Luxury cars, sports cars, cars with bigger boots. And check out the new OMG section, where you will find only the maddest, weirdest, coolest, most exclusive metal in the country. If it's time for a change, maybe it's time for Autotrader. There is plenty to like about this bike, especially the design. It's really, really cool to look at. Although you could argue, playing devil's advocate, that if you stood back and you squinted and it wasn't finished in Ducati red, would it look like a Monster? Is it a bit generic naked these days? I'll let you decide. On the subject of colours, that's another little bugbear of mine. This is only available in Iceberg White or Ducati Red. The red is fantastic, but I'd love to see more bikes in a wider range of colours. Imagine this in British Racing Green. It would look absolutely fantastic. Now, headlights. These are new. They have a different DRL signature to before, whereas it was a complete circle on the previous bike. This now has a double C design, which does look cool. These are also full LEDs, which means they should be extremely bright. Car people tend to take headlights for granted because you get 2 on a car and only 1 on a bike. I've ridden on so many bikes where at night I'm squinting and fearing for my life because I can't see, but having full LEDs, yeah, that's a good touch. Now, the tank. They say this is a bison back tank. In other words, it looks like a bison's back. And it kind of does, doesn't it? It's a bit slimmer than before, a bit more sculpted, and I think it looks really, really cool. Check out these little air intakes here. They hark back to the 2nd generation Monster, which also had air intakes. But a little secret for you, the 2nd gen intakes were fake, and these are fake as well. But they do have a little purpose. They give you more steering lock. So when you turn the handlebars, it allows you to tuck the handles in to that little gap to let you have a little bit more articulation. Good touch. Onto the seats, you get a few different options actually. You can get your pillion seat covered, or if you want to ride with a pal, you can get one integrated with the rider seat as shown here. Now, as standard, it rides at 32 inches off the ground, so it's quite low, but if you opt for a special lowered seat and lowered suspension, it can ride as low as 31 inches off the ground, which means it's a very easy bike to maneuver. Your feet are going to touch the ground whether or not you're vertically challenged. And here's something else that's very interesting in terms of rider comfort as well. This plastic cladding around the side is designed to protect you from the heat of the engine. Now, whether that's useful will depend, of course, on where you live, where you ride. If you live in Death Valley, California, on a 40-degree day, a bit of engine heat is gonna be cause for concern, but if you're doing it in Stoke on a wet, windy day, then you probably welcome a bit of engine heat, wouldn't you? Anyway, one more thing, this little Easter egg down here, that's the coordinates for the Ducati factory in Borgo Panigale. That's a very cool touch. Other cool design elements, this little hint of red from the mini trellis under the seat is a nice nod to the past. It has stylish new brake lights, which, while perhaps difficult to see from above, look fantastic. As do the dual exhausts, although the meshing on the tips do spoil the aesthetics somewhat for me. On the whole though, it's a pretty bike that looks and feels premium, which is more than can be said for many of its rivals. This one feels special.
What is it like to ride? Okay, first impressions, really nice. The handlebars are a good height for me. They seem subtly pushed forward, so you're in a sporty lean, but it's a natural feeling position that makes you feel like you're in control. The tank is also quite narrow, so it actually feels like you're on a smaller bike. And the tank is very easy to grip with your legs. My legs feel really comfortable actually. And the seat itself, really nice. You can spend a good few hours on this, I reckon. And although I haven't got a fly screen up front, I'm not getting blasted by the wind too badly. Just the rain. That new V2 engine is smooth as well, man. Buttery smooth. Some V-twins can feel a bit vibraty, but this is lovely. And going back to what I said earlier about not much heat coming off the engine, I actually wouldn't mind a bit of heat on a day like today. It might dry my jeans off.
The new Monster feels light too, partly thanks to that new V2 engine, which is the lightest twin Ducati has ever made. The bike as a whole is 4 kilos lighter than the previous model. In fact, it's the lightest liquid-cooled Monster ever, and it does feel like it.
The steering, very light, really responsive. There's no steering damper on it, so I do wonder whether that lightness gives it the potential to get away from you. Could it get a bit too frisky? But then again, if you ride it sensibly, then yeah, you should be good. It just feels really easy to manipulate and steer the bike and put it exactly where you want. I like that.
As for power and torque, well, it might seem a little lacking in that department, but the reality is there's plenty of grunt.
Probably more grunt than I need on a wet and windy day like today. But on the occasions when I've been able to open it up, what's really impressed me is the torque, or more specifically the torque delivery. You get 80% of max torque from 4,000 RPM all the way up to 10,000 RPM. You get 70% of that torque at 3,000 RPM. So you don't need to rev the pants off it to get it to move. It's always in the power band. In fact, it's probably the wrong approach to rev the pants off it, because you soon find that you run out of revs. You hit the red line pretty quickly. Downsides of the engine? Doesn't sound the most spectacular. At low revs, it actually reminds me of a large scooter, I guess. But when you get it in sport mode, open it up, it does make a nice enough sound. For a modern engine anyway. It's even got a few pops and bangs thrown in as well, I like that.
Speaking of modes, the dashboard is very clear and easy to understand and use, thanks to tactile, responsive buttons and a bright, logical display. This lets you cycle between all the usual riding modes, but also to customize those riding modes with your own unique settings. There are different power modes, high, medium, low and city, 3 levels of cornering ABS support with settings for road and track, many levels of traction control for a blend of freedom and stability, dynamic wheelie control to keep the front wheels on or off the ground at your behest, launch control, and plenty more.
Tell you what I also like, the quick shifter. This Ducati quick shifter is really good. So easy to change gear, just kick up and down, no need to faff around with the clutch, it just rolls you up and down the gearbox effortlessly. And it works really well when you're riding hard, but also importantly when you're driving at normal speeds as well. Wonderful, love that. Brakes, good, strong. Also important is that the tank has grips to let your legs get extra purchase so you can hold on tight. It feels really secure.
Let's talk about value. The new Monster will set you back around £12,000. That's a bit more than many of its rivals, but that could be offset against the fact the quality of this bike's fit and finish is so high. Not to mention, you also pay a price for a brand that's considered premium. Another really important consideration is the engine. Its service intervals are far more favorable than before. By not using desmodromic valves and instead using more traditional valve springs, the first major service happens at 28,000 miles, making it cheaper to service in the long run.
It's not fun riding in wet jeans, I can tell you. But even though the weather is suboptimal, this bike, I've really enjoyed riding it. Is it a proper monster? Not in the sense of something that's designed to scare you. This is the opposite. It's friendly, it's nice, it's fun. Like a monster from a children's book. The kind that looks mischievous, but actually just wants to play.
And maybe that's the point. This Monster isn't about fear or intimidation. It's about approachability. It's lighter, easier, less demanding. And I think that means you'll end up riding it more, pushing it more, enjoying it more of the time.
I actually wish I'd learned to ride on something like this bike because it's so easy to get on with, but it's also the kind of bike that's rewarding when you do improve your skills. It's the kind of bike that progresses with you, grows with you on your journey. So no, it's not a monster that bites, but it is one that makes you smile. And honestly, for the roads that most of us ride on, that might be the best kind of monster there is.